Alright, so Brendan Schaub just released a new comedy special on YouTube, and of course, it wasn't very good, and it's only like 26 minutes long, which is pretty short for a comedy special, but I will give him some credit here, because I think this one might actually be a little better than his last one. I think he might have improved a little bit, which isn't saying much because his last one was so bad. But I think I've seen worse specials than this, even though obviously there still were some moments where it got pretty dicey. But overall, the comedy special, it was dicey, but it wasn't the diciest. And I honestly think some of the other comedians that are a part of the whole Joe Rogan universe, their specials are just as bad as this one. But the problem with Brendan is he's not very good at taking criticism, and I think he takes himself way too seriously. And because of that, he attracts a lot of haters. So when he puts out a special like this, you know people are just going to tear it apart. And you can't really feel bad for him because he brings it all on himself. He's just so bad at handling criticism. And when people are aware of that, that's only going to make them want to criticize you more. And he just takes himself way too seriously. I mean, he's suing some YouTuber, and he threatened to sue some female comedian. And he also tries to have videos taken down that are talking negatively about him. I mean, he tried to have my video taken down. And I'm sure if I played any clips from his comedy special, this video would be taken down, like no question about it. So that's why I feel like he brings this all on himself. I mean, if you're going to be a comedian, you should be able to handle people making fun of you. And even if you don't handle it well, you can't let people know it. If you're trying to have videos taken down, if you're suing people, you're just letting them know, hey, I can't handle any kind of criticism. And I just think he'd do a lot better if he tried not to take himself so seriously. Like, who the hell cares if people think your comedy's bad? I mean, I don't even know why he needs to do comedy. He already has like 3 or 4 podcasts. So like I said, I'm not going to be able to play any of the special here, but I just want to take a look at some of the top comments. I think this is the top comment right here. This person said, he left the comments on, proud of you, Brendan. And yeah, you got to give the guy some credit for leaving the comments on, even though he might be deleting comments. I don't know. So here's another one. This person said, Brendan put his special on YouTube because the dislike button is disabled. And that's pretty funny. That's probably funnier than anything in his comedy special. No, I'm just kidding. And you know what? I'll actually give the guy a compliment here because I know most people are just going to be like, that was terrible. That special was awful. It wasn't funny at all. His timing was off. You know, there's a billion things you could criticize him for. But there were actually a couple times where I was like, you know what? I can kind of understand why somebody would laugh at that. And maybe if I were there drinking and hanging out with my friends and having a good time, seeing him live, I might have actually laughed at that. Alright, so to promote his comedy special, he went on Logan Paul's podcast the other day, and it was probably cringier than his comedy special. Honestly, this was just like a really awkward podcast, and I don't think this is true at all, but it kind of felt like Logan didn't even want him on, or like somebody forced Logan to have him on, which I don't think is true, but that's just kind of what it felt like. Like maybe there's a producer that was like, hey, listen, Logan, if we want to get to Joe Rogan, we got to talk to this guy first, unfortunately. Like, they barely talked about Brendan's comedy special. They talked about it for like 10 seconds. And then the podcast was mostly just Logan talking about NFTs and Coachella and shit like that. And then, of course, they did end up talking to Brendan about, like, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. Of course, I think anybody could have predicted that. So now let's check out some of the clips. Like, right from the beginning, this was cringy. Like, as soon as it started, they asked him about his special, and he told them that he's putting it on YouTube, and they just seemed, like, so confused by it. Or it seemed like they're almost making fun of him for it. I don't know what was going on here, really. But you'd think if they aren't fans of his, and they don't care if they're disrespectful towards him, they would have brought up the lawsuit, because that would have made this podcast a billion times more interesting. And I honestly think it probably would have helped promote his comedy special more, because him suing that YouTuber is pretty big news. Like, Penguins talked about it, and I'm sure like 4 or 5 million people saw that. And I don't think Brendan's really addressed it at all. So if he talked about it on the Impaulsive podcast right before his comedy special came out, I'm sure a lot more people would be talking about it. Like, a lot of people would cover it, and it probably would have helped get more clicks on his comedy special, even if it's people just clicking on it to hate on it. And I think in this situation with Brendan, him talking about the lawsuit would probably only help him, because everyone who watches him is hating on him anyways. Who cares if he adds a few more? Like, at this point, I just don't see how it could hurt him, really. And maybe he could even convince some people that he's suing this guy for a good reason. I mean, I don't think so, but maybe it could happen. All right, so enough of that. Let's get to the Logan Paul clips because this shit is pretty funny.
It's good, dude. Well, I should say why you're on. Well, like you're on this show because you have a special coming out.
Correct.
That I want to talk about.
Thursday.
This Thursday? Wait, next week.
Next week, Thursday.
Okay, so this will be coming out 2 days. Okay. Oh, awesome. Where is it coming out?
YouTube. Decided to do YouTube.
You're a YouTube. Are you a vlogger?
No, not at all. No.
You do YouTube?
Try.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
See, Mike and Logan are just laughing at the guy. And I don't know if they're just laughing at him because he's putting his special out on YouTube or because they just think he's a bad comedian and they're laughing at the fact that he does comedy. I really can't tell. It's hard to figure out what's going on here. It seems like they're being condescending almost. Like Mike's joking about how he's a vlogger and Logan's like, oh, you're doing YouTube? Like, shouldn't they already know that he's like a podcaster that posts videos on YouTube? But also, I feel like if they're just going to laugh in the guy's face like this and kind of make fun of him, then they wouldn't really have a problem bringing up the lawsuit. Unless they just don't even know about that. I guess that's possible. But after this podcast, they're definitely aware of it because most of the comments were bringing it up. Like, here's some of the top comments I found. Somebody said, you should have asked Brendan about not being able to take criticism and suing a small YouTuber. And then somebody else said, I'm surprised Logan didn't bring up Brendan suing a small YouTuber for making a joke about him. So I think Logan missed out on a pretty good opportunity here. So let's continue on with the podcast now.
No, you want the most eyeballs possible. Like a special is basically a commercial to sell tickets on the road. So the number one way to make sure you're not behind a paywall or subscription is YouTube. Everybody can go there. My fan base is there. Everybody can see it.
Yep.
So for the maximum views, which is all I care about, I passed on the networks and decided to do it myself.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
You like Logan's shirt?
Yeah, I dig it.
He just started this like new style.
So that's about all there is with Brendan promoting his new comedy special. It's just him talking about why he's releasing on YouTube. Like, he barely even got done explaining that, and Mike's changing the subject right away. It's hilarious. And I even would have liked to hear about why he's releasing on YouTube a little more because, I mean, I guess more people will view it, but are you really going to make more money on there? And is it really going to be worth it? It just seems like if you do it on Netflix or somewhere, aren't they just going to pay you up front for it? Maybe that he couldn't even get a deal with Netflix or Showtime again or whatever. I guess maybe that's a possibility. Oh, and I guess that could be why Logan and Mike were laughing at the fact that he's putting it on YouTube, because maybe they thought he just couldn't get a deal anywhere else. I guess that makes sense. But I don't know. I just think Brendan heard about, I think some other comedian did it. I think like Andrew Schultz, he released his specials on YouTube or something, and I think Brendan's just like, oh, that's a good idea, like, because Joe Rogan always talks about how that was such a good idea for Andrew and how he's like paving his own way or whatever. So I think Brendan's just like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do now. So like I said on this podcast, this is about it for Brendan talking about his comedy special, and now Logan just goes into like NFTs and all that shit. And I'll just play a little bit of the NFT stuff that Logan's talking about because that's pretty cringy. And it's just funny that they have this guest on. And it's just like, all right, whatever, dude. We talked about your special for like a minute. Not even a minute, like 10 seconds. And now I'm just going to go into talking about NFTs and how much money I'm making off of them. Like, does Logan's fans really want to hear about this? I don't think so. Like, oh wow, Logan Paul's making hundreds of thousands of dollars off NFTs, and then his fans probably get into NFTs and then they just lose all their money. That's usually how it goes.
I don't know how into NFTs you are, Brendan, but this one is my baby, World of Women. I love it. I love the project. I love what it means for culture, the Web3 space. It's female-led, female-empowering NFT blockchain project with amazing art. And I got involved early on, and they came out with a follow-up collection called Wow Galaxy. And if you held one of the original World of Women, you get you can mint a Wow Galaxy for free.
That's dope.
Since I held 35 of them, which is a lot, I got 35 Wow Galaxy. And one of them is a one of one.
Yeah, so honestly, I think I'd rather listen to Brendan's comedy special again than listen to Logan talking about NFTs. I mean, this shit is so boring. And I think Logan might be doing it to torture Brendan. Like, I don't think he wants to hear about this. I don't think anybody wants to hear about this. And of course, this is what the podcast turns into when Brendan's the guest. I mean, usually they're probably just asking the guests questions the whole time and they're really interested in them. And this is just like, so you got a comedy special? Oh, it's on YouTube. I do like Logan's shirt. You want to hear us talk about NFTs? Like, they changed the subject so fast. This is like 5 minutes in. It's crazy. And then apparently they just cut the podcast short. Like after an hour, they're like, oh, sorry, dude. We got to go out to eat.
We got to go to dinner.
Wait, right now?
I think so.
A 42-minute boys only episode?
Yeah.
Is that how long? What'd you say? No, I want to hear what you're saying right now.
We are here late. It's 8:30
Well,
p.m.
Oh, do you guys
We have to-
usually not do
How
it
long
this
has
late?
the episode been?
No, we never do it this late.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like Logan and Mike aren't really the biggest fans of Brendan. Like this podcast, it just seemed like a filler podcast. Like they didn't really have anything to say, but they knew they had to do a podcast, so they're just like, whatever, we'll just talk about NFTs and stuff, and if Brendan wants to sit in, he can come in, whatever. Maybe he'll lead us to Joe Rogan. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about Brendan's special, and then hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.